There we go. Hello, hello, and welcome. You are listening to Tea Rights. I am Jax Wolf, a fantasy author, and, well, aspiring anyway. And this is our chill Saturday morning stream. It is a lovely, kind of actually gloomy, I'm lying, Saturday morning right here in New York City, and we hope that this stream finds you well. This is your very first stream with us. It's going to be a super chill ride. If you're on Blue Sky, consider clicking that link. We have an open chat in which you can say basically anything that you want. Within reason, please don't violate YouTube TOS because I do like my channel. Other than that, if you type things in, I will read them aloud and respond to them, and that is how things be social here. If you're shy, we do have an icebreaker. The icebreaker is normally a writing question of some kind, and today's icebreaker is very much the classic writing question. Are you a planner, aka somebody who has to plan out their stories, or are you a pantser, in which you have just an idea and vibes when you dive in? And if you are a planner or a pantser, have you ever tried the reverse? If you're a planner, have you ever pantsed? If you're a pantser, have you ever planned? And how did it go? Type your response in the chat and I will read them aloud and respond to them. Companion Wolf says, I awaken. Welcome, welcome. Companion Wolf is one of our regulars. That having been said, normally the first half an hour of the stream is dedicated to messing around and finding out. Eventually, at 9 a.m., that is less than a half an hour from now, we will start our very first word sprint of the morning. Word sprints, if you don't know, are just periods of time of extreme productivity in which you try to get as much done as possible. Traditionally, this means that you will write, but the extended definition is that you will edit. The even more extended definition, which we follow, is do whatever you want, so long as you're doing something. We've had people, especially during our Night Brights version, which happens Wednesday nights, incidentally. We've had people do laundry, we've had people eat, we've had people play video games, we've had people draw, we've had people literally just take a nap. It doesn't matter. It's so long as you do something that's healthy for you. At the end of each word sprint, we take a break. During the first part of which we read off how we did and celebrate those little victories. And afterwards, you basically take a break. I chatter until you are done taking a break. Now, specifically I'm trying to be a little bit more structured with my streams. That is my New Year's resolution, I suppose. And what you see on screen is our schedule. Specifically, you can see that our sessions are 20 minutes of word sprinting, followed by 15 minutes of rest, followed by another 20 minutes, and we go for 3 times. Possibly 4, it depends. Technically, these streams are supposed to be going until about 11:30. So sometimes we fit in 4, sometimes I'm like, I'm not super into it, but it's cool. Whatever happens, and it's gonna be all a fun time. That having been said, turning back to the chat, Companion Wolf says, I'm a planner more now. I used to pants. Planning helps me actually make a properly paced story, but it's not a very strict outline. Just beats that have to happen. Other things can evolve. I'm very much kind of the same way. I used to pants all the time, especially back during my fanfiction days. I never planned, or at least I didn't really plan. I would pants until I'd be like, I need to figure out what I need to do for this story, and then I'd outline the rest of the story, and then I'd follow that outline for a couple of chapters and then throw it out. With my original work, I am actually a planner. My very first step whenever I have a new idea is I sit down and I try to plan it out. Usually that's world building first, maybe a test scene or two. But then it's like a full story outline, like beat for beat, very detailed and everything like that. That outline is always going to be temporary. I tend to throw it out within a few chapters, but then I basically just do another outline. And it kind of just helps me figure out, get a feel for what I want to do in the story and what beats have to happen absolutely, but also just sort of like I'm very liable to go off on very long sprints where barely anything happens in this kind of and outlines just keep me on task. Cameron Mullins has just joined us. Cameron says hello. I say hello back. I'm so happy that you made it. Elder Vampire 83. I love that username, by the way. Says good morning, and I say good morning back. Elder Vampire, aka GT Anthony, let me know how you'd like me to address you, by the way. Also, welcome to Tea Rights. I nearly called it Night Rights. It's a delight to. I've seen you on Blue Sky, but it's a delight to see you in the chat. But I also kind of think that that username is awesome. So one more time, Elder Vampire 83 says, "I'm allergic to outlines. Apparently, my executive." I'm allergic to outlines, apparently. My executive dysfunction kicks in hard when I do it. But I do have strict story beats that I stick to, and the rest just. I can definitely read this morning. What? I'm allergic to outlines, apparently. My executive dysfunction kicks in hard when I do it, but I do have strict story beats that I stick to, and the rest just comes to me. You can call me Gabe, by the way. Excellent. Gabe it is. Thank you, also. But totally understandable. Like, outline. I love the debate between planners and pantsers. It is a debate older than time and about as hot as whether or not NaNoWriMo is a good thing to do every year. Just one sec. But for sure, it's like it says a lot about the way a person organizes and the way that they think through a story. And planning and pantsing is not for everybody. So every approach is valid. Also, what's also valid are the people who do a mix of both. Wherein I want to call them planters. Yeah, planters is the term for it, isn't it? Um, I admire that kind of flexibility, unless they also do what Companion Wolf and I have been describing. Taisha has arrived. Taisha says, "Woot, made it, morning all," and I say good morning back. But also, hello, how does this morning find everybody? Also, in more direct response to Gabe, that is totally a-okay. Like, I also understand the argument that if you outline every single beat of your story, number one, you are going overboard, and number two, you risk kind of losing interest in it because you've already written your story. So it's like, it's valid, 100%. Cameron says, "Hi, Taisha." Seconded. Taisha says, "Hey, Cameron." Love the vibes and friendliness going on in the chat. And again, if you are on Blue Sky and you've just hit play, consider hitting that link button because that will take you right to our chat where people are being friendly to each other and saying hello. There are hellos all around, and I love it. Anyway, it is very dark and gloomy outside. Like, geez. The street lamp right outside my window has only just turned off, and it is super dark in here. I don't know if it's like... The sun has definitely risen by now. I just don't know what's up. I think it's one of those days where you just sort of stay in and chill out. Which I I can I can jive with. Oop. Cameron says, I'm good, thanks, grinding away on a tricky issue on my author's website. And Taisha says, what's the tricky issue if you can share? Seconded. Outsource that tricky issue. It's completely dark here in Colorado, no sun in sight. It is also like 6:42 in Colorado, isn't it? But I do also applaud you for getting up this early. We are delighted to have you, of course, but I do miss those early morning bits where it's like the sun has not quite risen just yet, and you're going to observe it come up slowly as the day progresses. Like that's a pretty chill vibe. Maybe I should wake up with the sun at some point. It's a side point. I didn't realize that Monday is a day off for my office, and I do have a little bit of vacation time afterwards, as I might have mentioned in earlier streams. So this is the first day of the first vacation that I've had since June, and it's the longest vacation that I've had all year so far. I'm very excited. I have so many things I want to do. Mostly like get the adulting things out of the way, put together like a grocery order, do the laundry, that kind of thing. But then it'll be hopefully a handful of days of doing absolutely nothing. Maybe go to the museum, take Benjamin to see art, wake up early with the sun, that kind of thing. So it's nice. Um, Gabe says snows in the forecast later, so it's a very gray day here too. Yep, yep. Snows in the forecast for us too. Um, which is nice. I do like it whenever it snows, as you can probably tell by lo-fi sessions right now. I am very much excited for snow. It helps that I don't drive. I do not wish the fun snow on anybody else out there with a car. Companion Wolf says, I've been awake for an hour, making more things canon for fictional DFW to snazz up my Triangle Agency game. It's a TTRPG. Things added, Boba Shop in the agency branch building, and a faction of furries. That all sounds delightful, including the faction of furries. I am not a furry myself, but I do highly respect the our furry brethren who have made the internet an interesting and so much better place, and who are actually a delight offline too. I have known many furries in my lifetime, and they are delightful. Cameron says, finding a compromise between good search engine optimization and nice aesthetics for my main book landing page. Search engine optimization, the bane of everybody's existence. Uh, but yes, if you have SEO tips, feel free to drop them in chat to help Cameron out. Gabe says, I work early mornings during the week, so I'm up bright and early even when I don't want to be, at about 6 Eastern. Ouch. Ouch. That, I admit that used to be me back when I used to work in an office, but I haven't seen that since the pandemic and since the lockdown, really, and I don't miss it. I do miss, like, the feeling of watching the sunrise while you're having a coffee at a bus stop. But I don't miss having to drag myself out of bed and actually be office worthy by the time I'm done. Cameron says, it's great, but not dismal here in southern England. That does sound lovely as well. Taisha says, yes, it's 6:43 a.m. here in Colorado, but I have kids and senior dogs, so it is rare I am asleep past 5 a.m. these days. I've actually been awake since 4:30 a.m. Wee, fueled by coffee, Jesus. Please have plenty of coffee. That 4:30 sounds painful. Like, in my opinion, the optimal time that one should wake up is probably around 6 a.m. anything earlier, like if you wake up around the 5 a.m. hour, then you have somewhere to be early in the morning. If you wake up at 4:30, then I feel for you. I start sympathizing because I feel like if it's dark for an hour or so, then you should be asleep. So that's my opinion anyway. Companion Wolf says, I want snow. I hope you get snow. Taisha says to Companion Wolf, yes, all TTRPGs need more boba shops for sure. Absolutely. There should be a TTRPG where you just run a boba shop. That would be so much fun. Companion Wolf says, Taisha, if you order a Kiki tea, you get banned. LOL. Kiki boba shape reference if you're not sure. That now I'm kind of like trying to envision Kiki tea. It's like instead of the cute little round bobas, you have like spikes, and they always taste sour instead of sweet. Let's see. Taisha says Cameron SEO has become a bit tricky with AI Google search these days. I work with a company that has had lots of their traffic drained after years of SEO, trying to figure out how to navigate. That is actually really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense. I'd imagine, like with the corporatization of search engines these days, it was already tricky. But now I'm kind of wondering, like, how exactly does AI impact SEO? I've never really thought about that. Like, I would have thought that AI would have helped you a little bit more because AI is not super intelligent. So all it does is pick up on keywords, but that is fascinating. That's not a help. Companion Wolf says there's probably a solo journaling game about running a boba shop, I think. I know there's ones for bookstores and cafes. You could probably modify the cafe ones, now that I think about it. But I really do have to get into the solo journaling. Like, I hear so much from it, about it from you, and it sounds so much fun. So 100%, I need to look into it. Tasha says wrote a project on it years ago. I would be uh wrote a project on SEO and AI, because if so, please share that if you can, because that would be interesting to look into. Also, it is 8:50. So it is we are 10 minutes out from our first writing sprint. So if you'd like to talk about your projects for the day, feel free to drop that in chat. Cameron says, yes, SEO seems to be a minefield even before considering AI. It really does. Like, there's a reason why it is a legit marketable skill. Oh, Taisha says no, project on the Boba Kiki effect. Ah! You know what? That sounds interesting too, so feel free to share that. Companion Wolf says, I need to pick a project. For sure. It is also totally welcome for you to just vibe the way that our Night Rights group does. So, for sure, do whatever feels best for you. I, meanwhile, am hopefully going to gun for the end of this chapter. As I keep on saying, like, I'm only a few bits away from finishing chapter 3. This week has just been extremely busy, so I've been burning myself out so hard. So I haven't really gotten a lot of chances to sit down and write. Like, the last time I actually opened up Scrivener with the intent of actually writing instead of taking snapshots of snips was the last time I streamed on Wednesday. So we've kind of been hanging. I need to fix that. And I also need to fix a different part. Like, there's a bit that I need to cut out of this chapter, which I might do as well today, just because it's there's a bit that's important to the plot, but it just does not fit in with this chapter. So I need to do a little bit of finagling and revising and figuring out what actually gets Mick and Eleanor into Phelan Woods. But we'll figure that out. We will figure that out together. Yay! Uh, Companion Wolf says maybe I will make the character for the TTRPG module I'm helping playtest, or work on furry faction details, or just eat breakfast, lol. All of those are excellent ideas. You have 20 minutes to play with, and I would suggest all of the above. But probably breakfast first. I don't know. I might make my own self a little bowl of cream of wheat and then have it during the stream. I have kind of thrown out intermittent fasting, at least for the next day or so, just because last night it was kind of rough. But that might be a thing. But other than that, absolutely. Work on your characters and playtest that module, because that's really cool that you get to playtest that. Cameron says, I'm trying to decide what to work on. The sketch I wrote last week went down very well with some of my Bee Sky moots. That is excellent to hear, by the way. I have to check in on how that did for you. But just to see, just to root for you and cheer you on as well. But would you be continuing the similar sketch or extended sketch? Would you be? Do you have a long-term project that you would like to get back to? Gabe says, I'm editing the next Elden Hollow chapter. I go back and forth between drafts, so I might try to finish up a later chapter too. Ooh, bouncing around is also pretty cool. I wish you the best of luck with editing, by the way. That sounds like a good time for a nice, chill Saturday morning. Taisha says, I'm editing my one and only novel, eventually getting back into querying. Wishing you the best of luck with both of those things, especially the easing back into querying. But for now, editing is a delightful thing to do. Also, did you make any progress since last we talked? Gabe says, best of luck with everyone's progress this morning. Seconded and saluting all of you. Taisha offers a fiery heart emoji. Cameron says, it was a sketch for my main project, a scene I wanted to write for a long time. Getting things off your chest. In that case, will you be continuing said scene, building up on it and attaching it to your story? Or will you be working on something else with the story? Taisha says, yes, good luck, Cameron, Gabe, and Companion Wolf. Seconded with all of that. Taisha says, yes, I have edited a few more chapters since last Saturday, but these write-ins are golden for me. Thanks for hosting. Thank you for enabling all these shenanigans. You were the first person to suggest a morning stream, and these are a delight. It's nice to force myself out of bed. I was actually in bed still at like 8:10, and I was like, I should probably get going. But once I got out, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. I'm gonna make myself some tea. I'm gonna get ready. So I feel a lot more energetic than I was barely an hour ago. Cameron says, lots of luck, everyone. Taisha says, I will try to reward with more bee pics. Thank you. Let us all be busy bees today, but also bees. But yes, 3 minutes to go, and hopefully everybody feels very ready. Now's a good time to get to your docs and projects if you haven't already, and just sort of shake out your hands. We'll do a proper breathing session at 8:59. By breathing, it's probably incorrect and whatnot, but anything to get us all relaxed and chill. Cameron says, I have 3 or 4 sketches I could potentially work on, or I could attempt the segment that has been holding me up for months. You know what? I would encourage, but I fear I won't make much progress with that. I don't know. I would encourage kind of sitting down in front of the bit that's been holding you up. Just like even poking a word at it might help unclog the drain that's been backing you up. So, now is a good time to just sort of sit down and meditate with something that's gotten you stuck for a while. That's what that's what writing streams like these are for after all. So, Taisha says, could outline the segment at least if you dig outlining, for sure. If you don't dig outlining, I think only 2 people answered. Hilariously, that is the icebreaker of the day. If you don't dig outlining, then even stream of consciousness, like super bad paragraphs of your characters doing things, even that would help because it'll be some words and your brain will be kind of tricked into thinking about what should go next. So, for sure. That having been said, it is 8:59, so let's prepare for our very first sprint. Sit up in your chairs. Taisha says, miss the icebreaker, I do dig outlining. Same here since starting in on original fic. Outlining can be super helpful. It is not for everybody, for sure, but if you're a very organized person or you love organization, makes things so much easier. That's at 9 a.m., so deep breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. One more time. Deep breath in. Then out through your mouth. Flex your fingers. Push back on them a little bit. Just to get those wrists all stretched out as well. Don't forget your wrists as well. Kind of twist them just gently, just to make sure that you're all warmed up and flexed, because warming up is important, folks, especially if you're going to be writing for a full 20 minutes, which are currently on the clock. So with that said, get ready, get set. I wish you the best of luck on this first sprint. Here we go. that is the first of our 3 20-minute word sprints. How did we do? As for me, 330 words, which was not super bad considering the fact that number one, I actually wrote the entire time for once, and number two, you saw me like delete paragraphs and rewrite them. But I think I'm slowly worming my way towards that end. We'll see. But you know, it's also not bad for a warm up. Because technically we don't do word warm ups here. We just jump right into the shenanigans. And that might be something that I might consider, like having us do a very casual stream of consciousness warm up for the first half an hour or so. There are always going to be little bits and bit of the stream that I will be tweaking, but in the chat, Taisha says, "Good job, Jax." Thank you very much. Companion Wolf says, "I flipped through a self-help journal book thing I got yesterday instead of doing anything. I also did my morning meds, though. Did take my morning meds, though. The morning meds is very important, so I am absolutely here for the fact that you took those. I am super glad that you did. So yeah, that's going to count as progress for you, Companion Wolf. You have taken care of yourself." Cameron says, 246 words. I chose a difficult sketch to continue. Totally, I admire the fact that you decided to jump into the difficult bits. Can you give us a little bit of insight as to what you're writing? Cameron says, GG Jax, and GG right back at you. GGTY, as the Final Fantasy kids say. Taisha says, "Half a chapter edited over here. This round is focused on better balance of show, don't tell." Ooh, that sounds difficult. So, and also, Taisha had says, and 1/3 cup of coffee drank. Excellent progress on the coffee. Also excellent progress on the editing, especially considering the fact that that's a tricky thing to get down. So hopefully it's a lot tighter. Hopefully you are very satisfied with what you've done. Taisha says, Cameron says, "Oop, reminded to take my meds." Yes. If you have not taken your morning meds, please take them now. Med check for everybody. I've taken mine. So, Companion Wolf and I are good to go, but make med check for the rest of y'all. Taisha says, "Good job, Cameron. 246 for a difficult sketch is great." Absolutely. Taisha says, "Ha, I take my meds before bed." I also admire that too. I do mine in the morning just because, number one, you should, and number two, it's just easier to remember, I think, because I sit down and the first thing I see are my meds. So, but at the end of the day, it's sort of like you're tired, you just want to go to bed, and you still have meds and things to drink and potentially eat depending on the med. So 100% I am saluting your dedication, or not dedication because it's necessary, but also, but more like not resolve. Excellent memory for sure. Saluting you just in general. Gabe says, "Nice job, I finished a scene. The next scene I'm currently writing is when a red flag character, alias X, is first introduced, so that's go away to the milestone." That's also going to be a lot of fun, because, I don't know, writing problematic characters is fun for me. Like, you're kind of setting them up to either have the audience hate them, which is weirdly fun, or you're setting them up to take a big fall, which is always cathartic. So I'm excited for you. May the X be a dickhead to write. Except, you know, may words still happen, but like, may he be fun. There we go. Excuse me. Tesha says, unless you count coffee as meds, maybe I should. Well, it is kind of self-medicating, isn't it? And caffeine is technically a drug. So I think yes. Gabe says, hydrate. Yes, also, that is an excellent point. This will also be a hydration check. Just as a reminder, we do take breaks so that you can get up and do break things. So if you're running out of water, go up and get some water. If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. Like, take a break, stretch, get up from your chair, walk around, chill. Like, 20 minutes is a long time. I know it goes by super fast, but still, take care of yourselves. Cameron says, I'm writing a scene where my MC meets her first elf, who's non-binary, agender, and she struggles because courteous conversation in her language is heavily gendered. Oh, but that also sounds like a lot of fun because it means that you get to discuss gender, which is an excellent topic to discuss. It also means that you get to discuss cultural differences and all that fun stuff. So, hopefully in the next sprint, it'll be a little bit easier or a little bit less intimidating. But I 100% support these shenanigans, and I feel like a nice head dive would be a good way to go because, like, discussing how to tackle a lack of gender when your language is heavily gendered is such a fascinating topic. And I'd imagine there would be a lot of thoughts that one person, your main character has. They would have a lot of thoughts that I'm trying to say, but yes. It also means that you're establishing a lot about your main character as well, because how exactly they handle very sensitive topics that might come off as big, like they might be holding on to slightly not okay beliefs, and that's a good way to, like, it's so interesting whenever an MC is like that because then you get to discuss those issues and have them navigate it and come to conclusions and maybe grow as a person. So that's a lot, and I fully support those shenanigans. I wish you the best of luck in the next sprint for that. Companion Wolf says, good job, everyone. Seconded. Cameron says, plus elves are pretty terrifying in my world. Ooh, Eldritch elves, yes. Taisha says my meds are statins, so yeah, I have generic hyperlipidemia. At least I can basically take these meds anytime, but at least statins are like magic. I definitely butchered all those words, but yes. I also envy the ability to take meds anytime. Uh, mine, well, right now I just take birth control for hormonal reasons, so it's just sort of like I don't exactly have to time it in a particular way, but it has to be consistently timed every single day. Um, and it's preferred that you do it before meals, just so that your body can absorb. Well, just so that you don't eat anything that fucks up the way that you absorb it. So it's fun. Um, Gabe says Eden Hollow is full of problematic characters, cult stuff, and Sterling has to unlearn a bunch of stuff. But yes, his ex is stinky. Excellent. But also, I love that Sterling has character growth built into him. Like, he has plenty of opportunities to learn about the outside world and the world outside of this cult and shenanigans, and to grow as his own independent person. We love to see it. Taisha says, to Cameron, I love exploring that topic because in real life, it is very difficult to have non binary agender discussions with languages that are heavily gendered. Very interesting. My MC is non binary. Absolutely. It really. doesn't help, at least for the IRL discussions, that the concept of being non-binary is fairly new. There have always been non-binary people, especially in different cultures. But like in the mainstream, it's like we've been so binaried and gendered for so long. Uh, Western culture, that is, that we're just now conceptualizing and accepting the entire concept of being non-binary, and it's amazing progress that our society, that Western society has made, but we still have plenty of steps to take. Uh, Gabe says Cameron A plus for terrifying else. Hell yeah. Tasha says one of my beta readers was French, and I think she struggled a bit at times with it. The romance languages and non-binary concepts. It's fun. Cameron says identity is at the core of the story. Another factor is the MC is actually half elven but doesn't know it, while the elf does know it. Oh, that's fascinating. I am going a little bit faster because we have less than 4 minutes on the clock for this break, but let's see. Tasha says, that's also fun to explore, Cameron. Thanks for making me want to read your book more. Amen and seconded on the wanting to read your book. Cameron says, my close friend and writing coworker is French and non-binary, and they have real trouble as French society and language do not deal with that well. I've noticed. um, I've had French friends, and I have tried to learn French myself, and yeah, it's very fond of its genders. um, where was I? Tasha says much of my story is also about identity and self-acceptance. Cameron says, "Ooh, we are pursuing a similar topic then." Tasha says, "Did you pitch this particular story someone, Cameron? Hard to keep track of all the stories on Blue Sky." Cameron says, "No, Taisha, I am self-publishing, so I generally don't do pitching events, but would be happy to DM you details." Oh, quick note about pitch events. They are not actually, I know that it's a little bit misleading, but they're not actually just for people who are querying. That's why they are so popular. The vast majority of them are actually hype events. So what that means is they're actually more for authors to talk with each other, see what the community is up to, uh, find new friends, find new writing partners and buddies, and just also get hype for your story. Like, you can definitely self-publish and not actually, and still participate in pitching events. And in fact, there are people who use pitching events even to advertise published stories on like itch.io and so forth. So you would actually be in good company if you were self-publishing and you participated in pitch events. Cameron says to Gabe, "Yes, I'm loving writing the super unsettling elves." And Cameron says, "I did wonder about that." Yep. If that's towards pitching events, yep, you are more than welcome. Uh, I I would suggest absolutely reading the rules of each pitch event, because there are some that are geared more towards the industry, but they will say like they'll have a rule that would be something along the lines of do not like or do not like if you're not an agent. Likes are for agents only, or uh, we encourage agents, or it's more like that's it. Like it's the likes part, wherein industry events are reposts welcome, but likes are for industry folks only. So luckily though, those don't tend to be popular on B-Sky. There are several reasons why. Part of that is just because the industry is navigating away from pitch events and finding new talent through those, and also partly just because of the way that the community is structured on B-Sky. It's less of an industry vibe than Twitter, for example. Taisha says, yeah, I have only done one pitch event on Blue Sky. It was interesting, honestly a bit stressful. I wish the expectations, as you just explained, Jax, were made clear in advance. Uh, and Gabe says, Blue Pit was my very first pitch event and it was so fun. I'm excited to get more hype on other stories I'm working on in the future. I'd be happy to talk more about pitch events on the next break. Um, I have done a lot of them on Blue Sky, so many that I kind of got myself burned out. But unfortunately, it is halfway through our first minute of our next 20-minute sprint. So if you're not already at your ducks, get back to your ducks. I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you in 19 minutes 30 seconds. is sprint number 2. How did we do? I have actually made myself a little bit of porridge because I am a little bit hungry. But on top of that, let's see. "442 words, which is good progression. But how did all of you do? Hopefully by the end of this I'll hit over 1,000 words, but we'll see. Last week was quite something. I'm definitely not replicating it apparently, but you know, any progress, so on and so forth. Gabe says congrats. Companion Wolf says I got distracted looking for a specific Tumblr post for my self-ship blog. Tumblr is indeed a black hole, so I hope that you dig yourself out. Companion Wolf says it took 20 minutes to find Tumblr search is bad. It really is. That's why I never use Tumblr search. If there's something that I know is on Tumblr, I Google it. I try to remember the wording of the post, and I just Google it because you're never going to find it if you just search it. For sure. I have a lot of feelings about Tumblr. It is a whole. It is held together with duct tape and hope. The fandoms there are kind of toxic as fuck. I encourage people to not go to Tumblr, in other words. But that having been said, Cameron says, I can't count words this time because I restructured a load of paragraphs and moved things around a lot. So at a guess, only a couple of hundred. Totally a-okay. In this house, we count any sort of progress, not just the word count variety. So that does sound like a lot of progress had been made, 100%. And I congratulate you, especially since it's always difficult to find. I say that a lot of things are difficult, but editing in general is such a fun thing, if you know what I mean by fun. But restructuring can be so satisfying. It's also a bit of a risk because you're like, well, I don't really like how this worked, but I do like how the effects of this thing, so it's sort of like playing Jenga with yourself. There is a way to hit on that sweet spot where you're just like, ooh, this looks so much better and is so much stronger, but it is for sure Jenga. Gabe says, I think my favorite bit of dialogue I wrote was Elias's ex, both equal mix of confused and horrified that a forest guardian can speak to plants. That is funny as hell. Like, shocking, the forest guardian can speak to plants in the forest. I already think that Elias's ex would be fun to dunk on. Taisha says, good job, Cameron. Gabe says, Tumblr search is indeed terrible. Yeah, it's not even a fucking search. Like, it will not pull up the things that are definitely on that website, so I don't even know. And this has been, and people have known about this since, for years and years and years. Like, Tumblr search just does not work. Taisha says, I just added more of the one chapter, not quite done with it yet, but maybe perhaps the morning here is over. Perhaps by the time okay. Taisha says, perhaps by the time the morning here is over. Absolutely. If it's only a little bit left, I have no doubt that you'll get that last bit done. Let's see. Companion Wolf says, Tumblr is a website indeed. Yep. Taisha says, currently on page 203 of 427 for this round of editing of my novel. Oh boy, it's double-spaced at least 115,000 words. That is a very good chunk of words. So, and you're nearly halfway through too, so that's excellent. Cameron says, I kind of made him a mess, haha. Taisha says sometimes you need to make a mess before you can clean things. That is absolutely true. Gabe says that made me laugh. Jax, thank you. You're very welcome. Taisha says, honestly, I think Blue Sky is the best search feature of any socials I've ever been on, and probably why I enjoy it so much. Yeah, it actually fucking works. You can actually search things and get skeets with the word that you searched for. What a fucking novel concept. If you search for users, you will actually find them. If you search for tags, you will actually find the tags. You will get suggestions if you just put one search term in. Not like the shitty auto suggestions. I mean like, oh, did you mean the user, the tag, the list? What are you looking for? And it's like, it's a fucking search engine that fucking works. So I sing praises about Blue Sky all the time, but in many ways it is so much fucking better than Tumblr. I fucking hate Tumblr so much. Like, this is a little bit colored by the reason why I left, which was, okay, so story time. I was there on Tumblr since like 2013, right? And I was there in more of a fandom capacity, so already I was kind of like in the thick of it, and by the end of it, I was like just so sick of that weird vibe that you get from fandom spaces sometimes, where it's basically high school, but everybody's old enough to drink. That's the vibe that I got everywhere, and that carried over into like the writing communities too, where if you didn't like or if you weren't super close with certain people, then you just did not exist. And it was made even worse because the Tumblr search didn't work. So it's sort of like you had to rely on word of mouth, but a lot of people in Ripley just did not want to talk to each other. And if they did, it was super generic. I'm not actually reading what you're writing. I am just sending you these generic asks, and I'm never actually going to interact with the response that you give me. It was super frustrating and super isolating, weirdly enough. Like, it called itself a community, but it was not a community. So that was the state that I was already in. And then I made a Discord that kind of sort of doesn't exist anymore. I just kind of got tired of running a lot of them, and also I wanted to migrate as far away from the folks that I met on Tumblr. Like Companion Wolf is A-okay, and whoever followed me to Blue Sky from Tumblr they're all right. But there are some people who had joined that Discord even who were just bringing in those Rippler vibes, and I kind of wanted to distance myself from that. But I had made that Discord way back in like 2024, early 2024, and I was like trying anything that I could to find community on Tumblr still. And I had sent the link off via DMs to one fucking person. One person, and all of a sudden, the system shuts down my DMs and shadow bans me. And I'm like, hey, I'm a real person. I have been running this specific blog for, because, you know, if you're on Tumblr, you go through blogs like people go through tissues. But that particular blog, I had been there for like a couple of years then. I had about 800 followers back around that time. I was posting consistently. It was very clearly not like spam posts. And keep in mind, Tumblr had a really huge spam problem. So I was shadow banned, but I'd still like get like porn bots following me. And if my DMs and asks were actually like functional because I was shadow banned again, if my messaging systems were functional, I would still receive like spam messages from porn bots. But in any case, I was like to Tumblr staff, hey, I'm a real person. I just sent this one link off to this one friend, and all of a sudden I'm shadow banned. Can you unban my account and help me out? And it took them like 6 months. And then at the very end, Tumblr staff was like, uh, we've unbanned your account, but we banned it because you were engaged in suspicious behavior. Don't engage in suspicious behavior. I'm like, I did not engage in suspicious behavior, first off. I sent a link to one person, and second off, that's rich coming from the fucking platform that has fucking porn bots and is doing absolutely jack shit except for banning trans people. So that is why I deleted my Tumblr. And just left because I was just so fucking fed up between Ripler's bullshit and Tumblr staffs. And it's literally, it's not even close to safe. Like, the community there is queer friendly ish. There's some definite transphobes on Tumblr. But Tumblr staff that is ridiculously anti-trans and anti-user in general. Like, they will pick fights with fucking everybody. It's stupid as fuck. Um. Anyway, don't go on Tumblr. Cameron says GG. Taisha. Gabe says, I had a very similar experience on Tumblr, but left during the 18 plus purge, and then I already left Twitter before shit on there got real bad. B-Sky so far has been a lot nicer by comparison. Absolutely. Like, I have very limited knowledge of what Twitter's community was like, besides secondhand, it's bad and filled with fun people. But the little experiences I got, it kind of had this weird industry vibe where you had to really work to get any sort of feedback or acknowledgement. So B-Sky is a lot friendlier in many ways. It's a lot more queer friendly, even though the higher ups are a little bit iffy, or just as iffy as Tumblr, to be honest with you. Um, but other than that, like, the community itself is very they're very supportive of each other. It's they work hard to make the place safe for folks. Uh, they will vocalize and let people know, hey, here's how it's unsafe, and here are some alternatives that you can try for to make the space safer for you. I'm not 100% sold on the idea of jumping. Like, I know that there was a lot of talk a few months ago about jumping ship to North Sky, for example, or Mastodon, or the myriad of other B-Sky adjacent platform. Mastodon isn't one of them, but like Blue Sky had kind of nearly become Mastodon in that there were like 400 different unincorporated independent platforms that could also hook up into Blue Sky and kind of sort of post, but like it would be tougher to find you. And it's sort of like, here's the thing, like it's like with AI and how every time we leave a platform because a platform's getting more AI, that platform just continues doing what it's doing, and now AI is becoming more and more ubiquitous because we're not actually pushing back against it. We're just giving up platforms and giving up ground in order to find the next platform that will also become full of AI. So the correct solution is actually to push back on the platforms and say, and really like vocalize your dissatisfaction with the use of AI until they walk back on their stances. Like, you see it with the cons and so on and so forth. Like, San Diego Comic-Con recently was like, yeah, our bad, we're not allowing AI in our artist alleys or something like that. And we strive to make our event very artist friendly, so we're not going to do this. Like, that's the cons have been actually weirdly good about walking back on AI, pro AI statements. And that shows that pushing back against AI actually works. And I feel like it's a similar notion with any other platform. If there's something wrong, you should stand up for it and push back so that you don't fucking lose ground and then go on to the next platform that will do the same bullshit. But anyway, let me just go through very quickly on the rest of the chat and then we will get back into it. But if you're just listening, we are now into the second sprint. So, Taisha says, so sorry, Jack, so frustrating. And a heart emoji to Cameron. Taisha also says, I like DMing people too much and would likely get banned too quickly in a place like that. Right? Like, it was just one link. Like, I would DM people A-OK before then, and then one link did me in? Like, what the hell? Gabe says 6 months. Yep. It went from March until September. Gabe says, by the way, my similar experience was the fandom stuff. I stayed with my own small circles, but also wrote semi-popular fics, so it was paradox. Yeah. Tumblr has been so... I don't want to get too much into it because I'll get too distracted, but I feel like Tumblr... Fandom had the potential to be toxic as it was, but Tumblr really fucking heightened it. Like, you would see toxicity and shittiness on forums and in mailing lists of people bullying each other, but like, you didn't see people mailing each other cookies filled with needles until you got to Tumblr. Real story, by the way. The Voltron fandom was fucking insane. Companion says, good job on second rounds of Werbs, by the way. Hell yeah. Or whatever else everyone is doing. Taisha says, so I just momentarily emerged from my office to discover the kids hung leftover birthday streamers and ribbons all over the stairs. They claimed the Cornish pixie had struck good kids. That is so cute. Gabe says, I hadn't heard that update from SDCC. Good on them. I am also looking this up because the last time I did it said something with full confidence I was incorrect, but... Oh, yes. They had walked back their stance 2 days ago, actually. So, yeah. Cabano says, Tasha, that's so cute. Agreed. Cabano says, the Voltron fandom did what? Good lord, yes. You heard me correctly. Gabe says Voltron fandom was in fact insane. I was there. I am so sorry. Cameron says Cornish pixies are pretty troublesome. Companion Wolf says I only recall Ship Wars and Fidget as trans mask headcanon, or Pidge as trans mask headcanon from my Voltron time. Hilariously, the needle cookie thing was over a ship war. I don't know. I think it's pretty innocent if you look it up, but the long and short of it is that somebody sent a Clance shipper, a really big Clance shipper, cookies that were filled with needles. Taisha says, my daughter devours all graphic novels. I'm going to have to ask where she got the inspiration for that one. And Companion Wolf says Pidge. Yes. Her name, I think, I was not in the Voltron fandom, so I'm kind of like going off of hearsay, but I think her pronouns were still she, her at the end. But yes, her name was Pidge. Anyway, second round. We are 15 minutes in. I am so sorry for that overhang, but let's get to it. right, that is round 3. How did we do? Let's see. 364, not bad for the fact that I spent 5 minutes chatting. Incidentally, because it is 10:30, I'm thinking we can do one more round, as we had last week. Just, for funsies. But yes, how did we do with all of that? I've also finished my breakfast, so I am ready to chill. It's also started snowing here. It's is very fluffy and white so far, and it doesn't look like anything's sticking. Companion Wolf says, I did nothing, rested, that's okay. That is okay, for certain. So, what you did was 100% valid. I'm like looking out the window and I'm having Benjamin kind of watch as well, just kind of holding him in my arms and in my lap while I write. His eyes are out on the window, and I'm kind of going back and forth about taking him out there because, there is a place that we can go, and it's not his first snow. Um, it's been snowing at night, really, so this is the first daytime snow. But I'm not 100% sure I'm up for walking out. I'm sure that as the day goes on, maybe, but who knows how long the snow will last? What's the temperature right now? It's 36 degrees out there, so I guess that's not bad. It's not super windy. It'll probably change to rain later on. I don't know. Maybe after the 4th sprint, I'll see what the snow's like. Maybe take him out after all. Take pictures of him in the snow. It's so cute finding these little opportunities. And that is one thing that I wanted to do, just sort of have a picture of Benjamin gazing up as it snows down, but we haven't had that chance yet. And chances, I've noticed, are getting rarer and rarer thanks to climate change. But anyway, Gabe says Elias is about to meet Avery in this next scene, which now means that the 3 MCs will have all officially met each other and their paths have crossed the streams, lol. Excellent. Everybody is gathering. Gabe says no snow yet, but possibly in a couple of hours. And Tasha says, I navigated streamer and ribbon booby-trapped stairs to get a Cornish pixie dressed and ready for the day. Inspiration was actually a Harry Potter Lego set for those curious. No editing. Totally A-okay. Child wrangling is a job in itself, so I am saluting you, and absolutely do what you need to do. That is more important than editing, sad to say. But yeah, it is very peaceful. I do love the snow. I grew up loving the snow. Taisha says they're getting older and it's getting easier. I was about to ask how old these pixies were, if you're willing to share, because I'd imagine that streamers and pixies running around, where we might be talking small, bitsy wrangling. Cameron says, I wrote a bit more elf dialogue, spent most of the time looking up archaic synonyms, though. That is actually fascinating. Delving into old words and whatnot. Cameron says, my elf dialogue is fun to write, but makes my head hurt. If we're talking Eldritch elves, then understandable. Taisha says they are 7 and 9. Aww. So not super duper bitsy wrangling, but there's still bitsy wrangling to be had, especially on Saturday mornings. When you're at that age, it's Saturday mornings are just magical days when you do absolutely nothing but stay in bed. Oh, and speaking of which, let me just see something real quick. I just got invited to haul my ass out to Lower Manhattan. Man, I'll have to think about this one. I mean, I guess if I'm up already. But, let's see. Gabe says, I live right on the coast and most times it's too warm for much snow anyway. When I lived in New England for a hot minute, there was a lot more snow. Yeah, I guess I see your point because, like, right now in New York City, one thing that I've noticed is that Christmases aren't white exactly, but I'm also used to living out in the mountains of some sort. So, like, I grew up in Pittsburgh, which is in the mountains. So it would snow every winter. Like, well, obviously, but like by Christmas time, it would be, it would have had its first snow. Um, and that snow would have stuck, and it would have been a nice kind of chill looking winter wonderland. And I miss those days. This was back in the 90s. As I don't like dating myself, but yes, I grew up in the 90s. So it was a different time back then. Like for sure, I remember winters being a little bit colder and snowier, and everything else, being milder. But then again, like it's also mountainous climate up there, so it might also just be a little bit of both. After Pittsburgh, I was living in Western Massachusetts, so there was that. Then off to Eastern Massachusetts, so like between mountains of Western Massachusetts and latitude of Eastern, of course it snowed, and of course it stuck. Um, but I've been living in New York City for a good chunk of time, and I miss white winters. I miss white Christmases. Like snow on the ground, snow in the air. It just feels different here for sure. Let's see. Cameron says my elves are quite Tolkienian, but creepier. Gotcha, gotcha. So basically Eldritch. Uh, Gabe says my writing style for Eden Hollow is very much old school fairy tale esque prose and an old timey feel. So sometimes writing it does give me a bit of headache because wow. Taisha says Cameron, archaic synonyms sounds challenging, right? Absolutely seconding that one. Cameron says, yep, I feel you. Excuse me for a sec. Taisha says Colorado currently has the lowest snowpack on record for the past 20 years. Very dry and cold here. Oof, and ugly. Sorry about that, a little bit of hiccuping there. Let's see. Gabe says much of my research in my fantasy writing is this word too anachronistic? Uh, To that, I say I do not envy those of you who are doing very heavily fairy tale esque worlds and worlds set in a more medieval setting. I cannot I cannot push myself to look up the history of words that I use. So I just don't set it in there, and that takes care of that problem. Let's see. Gabe says Jersey Shore boy here, born and raised. Hell yeah. I've been told to visit certain parts of Jersey, South Jersey particularly. I've heard that it's really lovely over there. And I mean that in all sincerity too. I know that a lot of New Yorkers like to shit on New Jersey, but let's be real, it's better than Staten Island. But that having been said, I have looked it up and y'all have some interesting stuff going on. I should definitely take a day trip at some point down to where you guys are. Uh, Taisha says we actually almost had to evacuate due to a fire a couple weeks ago. Luckily, it was put out within the day. I am very glad that everybody is safe and sound and that you didn't have to evacuate, because that's terrifying. Cameron says, oh goodness, Taisha, not fun. Agreed. That is sincerely terrifying. Gabe says, Smithville, birthplace of the Jersey Devil, is my favorite place here. I love to go there nearly every year. That sounds like it'd be a great place to spend Halloween. Oop, mouse finally died. Man, now I have to decide whether or not I want to go into Manhattan, because like on the one hand, socializing is a thing that you should do. Socializing with real people, especially if you have the option to do so. On the other hand, that is an hour by public transportation, and part of me just kind of wants to lounge lazily at home and do nothing but play video games all day today. After the stream, of course, and potentially fucking finishing this chapter, which I might be able to do within the next sprint. Fingers crossed. Let's see. Taisha says, Gabe, how do you feel about MCR? Just wondering. I am also curious because there is a correct answer to this. Taisha says, having never been to Jersey, I admit it's what comes to mind when I think of the place. There are all kinds of. I have a family in Jersey, and I go to Jersey often. And if you've been to night rides, you probably also know a little bit more than that. But there are like the Jersey Shore reality show is not what Jersey is like. I promise. It is more like I'd hate to draw this comparison, but he is South Jersey, so it's appropriate. But Kevin Smith, um, especially Clerks, that's more accurate of what Jersey is like than Jersey Shore, the reality show, I think. Just like ordinary people going about their lives and being kind of a little bit tired about it. But there are some fascinating places too, like Hoboken, for example, which is the birthplace of Frank Sinatra. And they are very proud of this fact. It's a lot of fun over there. There's a lot of interesting spots in Hoboken to hang out at. A lot of stuff going on over there. Jersey City, which is the next city, or it's the next city down actually from Hoboken, is also likewise. It's a little bit less upscale than Hoboken, but like it's diverse. There are all sorts of events going on there. And also, if you ever want to see the Statue of Liberty, go to Jersey City, not to Lower Manhattan. You will get a better view. There is literally a state park in Jersey City that was explicitly and deliberately set up to give you the best view of the Statue of Liberty. It's also really not crowded with tourists, because I think a lot of people don't realize that you get shit views of the Statue of Liberty from Lower Manhattan. But also there's good country out in Jersey. it's a decent place to hang out in just in general. If you like chiller vibes than what New York has to offer, it's all around not bad. Um, Taisha says, having never been to Jersey is what I admit it's what comes to mind when I think of the place, and of course the Jersey Devil. Gabe says NY is great though too though. I've been to the Catskills and Alexandria Bay and I want to try it and go to Sleepy Hollow for my 30th birthday this year. Sleepy Hollow is a very cute little town. You would never think it because it's Sleepy Hollow. It is it, if you're not thinking of New York City, you're probably thinking of Sleepy Hollow. But it's actually a very suburby town. It's this cute little, it's a very small town kind of vibe out there. I used to go there a lot during the lockdown because there are a lot of parks there and in neighboring Irving. And you can just sort of hang out there and not actually interact with people. You can take long walks. The aqueduct is there, which is a long path that cuts through these beautiful woods. But it is very suburby and very quiet, shockingly, for a place called Sleepy Hollow. Uh, they do stuff every year for Halloween. It's kind of low key. It's not like going to fucking Salem for Halloween. If you want a fucking wild time, if you want a wild time for Halloween, go to Salem, Massachusetts. It is incredible. I went there once and holy fuck. Anyway, Sleepy Hollow is not like that. um Gabe says I do in fact quite like MCR. Companion Wolf says when I was a young boy. Yep. Taisha says woot me too. Got MCR tickets for later this year. Never seen them in concert before. Also, yes, the correct answer is you like MCR because MCR is great. Uh, Gabe says, I just need the one note. You know the one. Absolutely. Taisha says the G note. Yeah, always fun playing that on piano. Absolutely. That is like, all you need to do is play that one note and you can find every emo in the room. It's great. Gabe says, that still sounds quite fun. Smithville's kind of the same way. There's shops down there with some having different themes, and there's a river that cuts through it. Yeah, basically. Basically the same story with CP Hollow. So 100% I encourage you to go and check it out at least once. Um, if anything, it's a nice quiet time, especially if you're going off season. So anyway, yeah, let's do one more sprint, and then I'll talk about schedules and whatnot, and we'll see what's up. All right, so 20 minutes are on the clock. Get ready, get set, and here we go. right, that is the last sprint of this stream. How did we do? Let's see. I have to actually find where I left off. I think it was here. If so, it was 537. But which is not so bad. I just need a couple more paragraphs before I finish up, and then there's a little bit that I need to cut out, and this chapter will be done. That said, Companion Wolf says, made progress with some therapy homework. Excellent. That is excellent productivity. Taisha says, almost done editing the chapter. Woot. Excellent job. And also, good luck with the rest of the rest of the edits. Gabe says, sad boy hours because I'm writing a breakup scene now. They get back together later, but I made myself sad. Aww. You should treat yourself. Taisha says, but glad they get back together. Absolutely. Gabe says, Avery's pesky internal conflict making him push away the love of his life that also wants to marry him. Aww. In that case, I'm very glad they get back together. And also, Avery, please go see therapy. Gabe says, yay for new chapter. Hells yeah. But yeah, so I was invited to a place in Lower Manhattan, but I think it is snowing, so I might actually get dressed after this and go outside for at least a walk, but I think friend and I have agreed to do that tomorrow. So I really just want to have one day where it's like I don't have to be anywhere and I can just vegetate, and then the rest of my vacation will be spent running around. So this is a good plan. But in any case, I should talk about schedules, as we do with at the very end of all of these streams. So, that having been said, this was a great little sprint time. I am delighted to have hung out, but so therefore we will be doing this again. Same time as usual, 8:30, until somebody tells me that I should move it. So, it's going to the next Saturday morning stream will be at 8:30 next week. That will be, let me pull up the calendar, the 24th. The next stream in general, though, will be on Wednesday, the 21st at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That is our usual night rates. Will there be streams in between? The answer is it's probable no. Only because, yes, I'm on vacation, but also I kind of want to enjoy a little bit of time. Like, for example, tomorrow is probably going to is probably dedicated to going out into the city. Monday, Monday might also be a city day too, because at some point I want to take Benjamin to MoMA. So MoMA on Monday is the most likely thing that will happen, if MoMA is open that on Monday, but we'll see. But Tuesday it's going to be errand day slash hang out at home and do all these stuff in the apartment, which means there might be a special stream. It'll probably be a night stream. Keep an eye on bsky jackswolfwrites.bsky.social if I decide to throw in surprise streams here and there. I am not going to say for certain that there will be a special stream any time between now and Wednesday, or between Wednesday and Saturday. They will just kind of happen. It will depend on my mood and whether or not I have time and whether or not I'm staying and hanging out in the apartment. It's all going to be a fun adventure. But for sure, next stream that we are going to have on this channel will be Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. and the stream after that will be 8:30 a.m. That said, let's see. Taisha says you can totally keep it at 8:30 a.m. Eastern for me at least. Can't do the Wednesday due to conflicting write-in, but happy to join for Saturday. Yeah, someday I'll be able to attend the other write-in. They do look good from what I've seen of like the little snippets after the fact. And it really depends on what the raid team in Final Fantasy ends up doing. But for sure, I do hope you enjoy the Wednesday stream over on the other person's channel. Gabe says it's much easier for me to come to the Saturday streams, 8:30 p.m.s around when I go to bed for work in the morning. Totally understandable. So I'm happy that they're here. Absolutely, I am delighted to continue hosting. I will try my best to host. Saturdays tend to be low-key for me anyway. We'll see how everything goes when it's like the first of the month and it's just the first Saturday of the month and whatnot, when I actually have stuff that I leave the apartment for. But other than that, yeah, absolutely, these are going to be a consistent thing, and I'm delighted that you guys come in and you guys are productive with me. It's a delight to interact with y'all and to be chill with y'all. Uh, I'm having a lot of fun doing these. But that having been said, I'm going to wrap up the stream for today. Immediately after, I'm going to probably lie face down in the in bed for a little bit and then drag myself back out so that Benjamin can experience snow. But whatever you guys are doing for the rest of the day, I hope that you have a very restful Saturday if it's your day off. If it's not, I hope that it's productive in some way, that you're treating yourself kindly, and that you give yourself plenty of breaks. So, Gabe says GG's, Cameron says thank you, Jax, Companion Wolf says thank you for stream, Jax, and Taisha says thanks so much for hosting. Happy rating, everyone. Yep, and I will see y'all, most of y'all on Saturday, and some of y'all on Wednesday. So until then, take care. Love you guys. Happy Saturday. Very well.